Whoa, wow, thank you so much, so nice. I'm Ricky Camilleri, hosting this build. For the first season of Facebook Watch's Strangers, creator, director, and writer Mia Lidofsky showed us what it was like to be a young woman trying to find love, a career, and confidence while living in Los Angeles. Season 2, which premiered on Facebook Watch June 24th, poses similar questions, but with someone who's a bit more grown up and now trying to answer those questions in New York. Let's take a look.
To all of our dreams are coming true in this big city!
Oh, shit. $250? I can't even afford to litter in New York. My apartment fell through. Oh! Literally. I've decided to B&B all over the city.
I'm your host.
I have a husband, and it's an open marriage.
What are you gonna do?
Tear it down, build it up again.
It's like an adventure. You like adventures?
Please put your hands together from Strangers, Zoe Chao, ex-Mayo, Sarita Choudhury, Kathleen Munroe, and creator, director, writer, Mia. Hey! Congratulations on season 2, guys. It's fantastic. I've seen 2 episodes. I think it betters the first season just simply because I'm a New York native. So what was it like taking it from LA to New York? I know you're more of a New Yorker, so did it feel like you had more of a home with this? Did you feel more comfortable with this one?
It definitely felt like a return home. The series had originated as a New York show, and then when I was accepted into AFI's directing workshop for women, one of the stipulations of the program was that you had to shoot in LA, and so I turned this New York series into an LA show, always with the intent to come home in season 2. So it was really a return home, and it's been an unbelievable joy.
Do you feel like it helped your comfort level directing being at home in New York in terms of the people that you could reach out to, having a bit more of a base? Or did you just feel more comfortable doing season 2 because you had already done season 1?
I would say all of the above. I mean, I had a pretty wonderful base out in LA. I mean, season 1 was completely Favors Nation. You know, the pilot we made for under $30,000, and you know, almost everyone worked for free, and so it was really calling in every favor in the book. And then the rest of season 1, Refinery 29, greenlit, and so it allowed kind of more of a network to evolve. But season 2, I think I'm an East Coast kid. We both grew up in Providence, Rhode Island. I love the melting pot of New York. I love the different faces you see on the street and the experiences.
Did the 2 of you know each other before shooting? Were you friends before the show?
Since 1989.
Since 1989.
Yeah, we met on the first day of school, nursery, 3 years old.
I was crying, hiding behind my mother's leg, and this tiny little human came up to me and was like, "It's okay, I'll be your friend." And she kept her word.
Yeah.
So did you write this with her in mind, or was this a project that the 2 of you were kind of developing together?
I mean, Isabel's song for me.
Oh.
Here, I'll take that.
Do both, yeah. Double fist that.
I always wrote Isabel with the intent for Zoe to play her. She's one of the most talented people I know, and I really wanted.
Very good, yeah.
I really wanted to give her a platform to shine in the way I knew she could, and I also felt like there's such a trust between us that it would also allow me to thrive. So it was really.
Zoe, what was it like getting this from Mia and sort of getting this project, and how much creative input do you have since you have known her for so long?
Right. Well, Mia and I, we were in LA, 4 years ago. And Mia, we were on the back porch of where you were staying. And she was like, I have this idea. And she was like, what about if we do the dream? And I
said it just like that.
What about if we do
really low?
I've actually never done an impersonation like that of you. It's not accurate. But it's been wild to work with your best friend doing the thing that you love. and telling a story you believe in. It's one of the hardest things I think either of us.
Never been complicated for me.
It's really hard.
And hard is not on the friendship, like it's a very big dramatic
Also
thing.
hard on the friendship.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, let's go there.
We've
Yeah.
gone through
Oh,
trials.
real talk, yeah. The first season was the stakes were so high for both of us. We wanted to do this the best we could, but it was also a huge undertaking and a lot of pressure it felt for both of us. And
Is it harder to sort of delineate the lines between director and actor at a certain point where she's trying to get something out of you and you're like, but I feel this about the character, and whereas with other directors, you'd be like, okay, you're the director, I'll just do this.
you're
No,
stirring.
nothing. I've been there. I've been in this situation before, and it's like, oh, how much am I gonna push this friendship to get what I want, or how much am I gonna like let this go so that this can exist as well in the moment?
Totally. I think we're navigating that all the time. And I think we both trust each other entirely in terms of like both wanting to tell this story that she wrote as like responsibly and clearly as possible. But yeah, every once in a while there's like different takes on things, but it's been cool to do the second season after having the first season under our belt, because just the shorthand is there, and it, I think in the toughest moments when we're, you know, against the clock, it's like, oh yeah, I'm looking at this person who I've known for so long, who is family, and no matter what the challenge is, like, it's all love.
What is it like for you guys joining the second season after having seen the first season?
It was amazing to join this season. Especially to join when it's like, okay, they've already like set the standard. You see it's an amazing product and you just get to like come in and just play. And it's been amazing working with Mia to have like the freedom just to really be yourself on stage. On screen. I'm a comedian. I'm so used to being on stage. And Mia allowed all of us to like just be free, and that was like so important for me because sometimes I would hold back, and Mia would be like, "X, no, do the thing." Like, and I'm just like, "Oh, okay, cool," because you don't know how much to give, and she just allowed you just to be free, and that is the exception. That is not the rule. That is.
I love your
very rare.
your introduction in the first episode where you come in dancing, and that whole number between the two of you is so wonderful and fun. Was that in the script? I mean, that was something that I saw, and I was like, is that in the script, or did you guys get to set and two people were dancing, and it's like, okay, this is how we're gonna do this scene?
Is that, you mean when they're stepping at the end
Yeah.
of, that was, they were just messing around before we shot, and then we changed the blocking to incorporate it. I mean, the joy of working with these four human beings and the other incredible cast members is you hire people way more talented than kind of your imagination can necessarily allow. And so it's a constant thing of like staying true to the core of what you're trying to tell, but giving the freedom to play and riff and like find the fun. Because it's such a grind that like if you're not finding the fun every day, why show up?
Yeah.
And I have brilliant artists surrounding me, so we played a lot.
Yeah. Sarita, can you talk about joining the show?
So I saw season 1 when they offered me season 2, and I couldn't understand why I loved it so much, because it, you know, it's not my age range. It's not the show I thought I'd be on.
Well, but it's human, and that's universal.
And so I was like, and my agent was like, I love this show. We kept saying, why do we love this show so much? And I was like, oh, because they don't go mean. They keep it in this realm that's so, like, it's all my thoughts every day. And so when I went set, Mia was like, I'm so happy to have you. You're going to be amazing. I was like, oh, God. I went on set. She had to direct me about 10 times to get the first take. Because it's actually really hard work to get the tone right. Like, it looks super casual, but it's
heightened a little bit. It's a really specific, yeah.
well, it's like comedy, yet real, yet drama, yet it's very tricky.
Well, I think the laziest comparison that someone would make is probably to Girls, right? Because it's about women in urban areas. No, but I think what you do that is different is that you are not hyper focused on creating division and conflicts within your characters, rather than bringing them together in emotional ways, which is the sort of different sensibility, I think, between one of the many, but a very clear, direct difference between girls and this. Is that something that you thought about while writing the show, in terms of how you brought your characters together and created some kind of conflict with them?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I worked on 2 seasons of Girls, and I love
Jesse
that
Peretz
show.
is a producer
Yeah, and
on
I
the
love
show.
that show, and they were tremendous
I
inspiration.
love it too. Don't get me
No,
wrong.
absolutely. But
Girls.
Girls.
Great show.
Love the show. Love the gender. Love.
I'm not so sure about the gender. Can we talk about this honestly, ladies? No, sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, I think I have a specific approach to the characters, and it is with a certain kind of warmth and kindness, because these are the different characters have different pieces of me, have different pieces of Zoe. Since, you know, our cast joined, there's Sarita and X and Kathleen in moments, and I love these women. And, you know, the foundations of my life has been through really strong, beautiful relationships with women and men, and the way that people show up. And it's kind of, as you grow up, it's the rocks, it's the bedrocks of like who shows up at the end of the day. And I think in many ways this show has been a testament to people really showing up. Like, I remember both Jermaine Clement and Sherry Appleby told me when I was, you know, for Jermaine when I was a producer, and with Sherry when I was an assistant to a director, they both said, when you make something, call me and I'll be in it. And I called them, and they both were in season 1. So I think that you can throw out words very easily, but the actual following through of the act is a very different thing. And I've had a lot of people, including everybody on this stage and in the audience and at home and my real life partner, like, people have showed up.
I'll compliment you one more time, that maybe more after that. But it's harder to make something about people that show up and to make things about good people, because it's harder to find conflict and drama, and you're able to still do that here. That's why so often television shows are about kind of nasty people, because it's easier to give nasty people conflict and mean things to do. So congrats.
Thank you.
Kathleen, what was it like for you joining the second season?
I mean, I was such a fan of the first season and such a fan of the work of these women. So
I got you.
Thank you. I really badly skinned my knee, so I'm trying to like hide the hide that embarrassment.
This is why I like this. There's all these things that we're trying to hide, and then telling everybody that we're trying to hide them at the same time.
Just show it.
This show's about transparency, guys.
Yeah. Live loud. Yeah, I mean, I was really thrilled because I get to work so much with Zoe Chao, who's just a phenomenal actor and an incredible human being, I found out. But I was really excited to just get in and play with her and to play with Mia, because I love the show. It's also meaningful to me to be on a show headed by a queer woman. I'm a queer woman, so it felt like a very comfy environment for me there. And to work with so many incredible women felt really... like, you know, I love my good men, but like this was a really, really special environment. So that was just in terms of the work and the environment, really exceptional, like really exceptional.
Can I ask, how does it feel? How does it feel different on set to have outside of the fact that the stories that are being explored on the show are stories about queer women predominantly, but what does it feel like on set when everybody behind the camera and working on the show as well are predominantly women or LGBTQ?
It's a palpable difference. Like, I mean, you feel it vibrationally. There's a different. I mean, it's also the specific women, I'll say, and we also had incredible guys on crew. So it was a highly decent environment, and an environment that only tolerated decency. So it's just when you can put your entire creative energy into the work, and you don't have to reserve any for navigating the environment on set, is like a really. I kind of only felt it when I was in it, and I've been very lucky in my career to work on some great stuff. But this was just it's like a new chamber of a lung opens up, and you can go like, okay, I'm just here and protected. And a lot of what we had to do is romantic and nude, and to kind of deal with that delicate stuff without any question of like even vanity or exploitation. I mean, it just felt like
being able to just sink into the heart of what the scene is and to look at each other and connect in what we needed to do with the story, and just like get that part of your head that is attuned to scrutiny, just shut it off.
Questioning the intentions of the person behind the camera,
Oh,
even if they have the best of intentions. I imagine when you're in such a vulnerable position of being nude on camera, and there's 10 men behind the cameras. There's a part of your brain, even if they're all good guys, going kind of like, how are they perceived?
You just kind of go, maybe you don't know what this feels like. And here, like in whatever kind of version of that, I felt like we all sort of understand what it's like to be looked at as women, to be looked at as queer women, to be looked at, like there's just a sort of a different lens through which we're seen, which feels really special. And also to the point of the show being about kind of positive connection, like the premise of the show even, there's all the main interpersonal drama, but it's also a show about a woman living with different people every week. And so it's like built into the premise, there's this idea of like, how do you forge connections with people, and with like a variety of people and unexpected connections. And so there are the bits of conflict as you figure that out, but it's really, it's meaningful to be on such a heartening show that doesn't shy away from complexity. I think that's a line that you tread really, really well.
How did you skin your knee?
I wiped out in the rain. I was in Toronto for Pride, and I wiped out in the rain. Stone sober.
That's a good scar, though. That's gonna be a good memento. I have one too.
What's that from? Oh, you did.
This is from scuba diving.
With sharks.
That's so much
not
cooler.
as interesting.
So
Were you
much
scuba
cooler.
diving for Pride, though?
Right.
No.
Yeah, cool. So just take it away from the queer
Sorry.
agenda and talk about your scuba diving.
No, I was rock climbing. Just kidding.
So I was saving a life.
Cooler.
Sarita, you said that this, one of the aspects of this that you didn't feel like it was your generation's voice at a certain point, but you have this great line in your episode where you say, who's straight now? Which is clearly about generational differences. What is it like getting to say those lines and to sort of be a representation of a different generation, but one that is still very open-minded and engaged with this younger one?
Such a good question. I think yes.
Ricky, you're really
You're
good
so
at
good at what you do.
Thank you.
I feel like she is giving me lines that I wanted to say 20 years ago, but I was busy playing a bimbo. You know what I mean? Honestly, I never got to say these lines. So in a weird way, you're right. It is my show. It's just I never got to have it 20 years ago.
Do you feel like you were forced to play a bimbo for...
When I say bimbo, no. I mean, I was lucky in that I worked with good directors, but when you are in your 20s and you're playing the ingenue, you always have your clothes off, and you're always... when you were talking, I realized my sets all had men. In a
Not 10, like 50.
And I didn't even realize that.
When you look into the sea.
You know?
Well, it's like you almost don't realize it until you find the alternative, because the norm has been so
And
predominant.
I've had...
Like being gay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've enjoyed every role I've played, but it's not until, like you said, you get this moment and you're like, oh, how cool.
I think that also happens when you get a great character to play as well. If you had been playing something where you constantly felt in service of the man in the story or of another character in the story, and suddenly you get someone that's three-dimensional, has complexity, it's probably a completely different feeling.
I'm
as
just
well.
so used to working around those issues and finding my strength, but
I really wish 20 years ago we were talking, there was a question that was asked, like, what other character would you love to play in the show? And Sarita said, Isabel. And I would have killed to have grown up with Sarita as in Isabel. To have an Isabel, like to have someone whose face looked like mine, to have an Asian woman be the center of a story.
Yeah, because that would never have happened.
That didn't happen, and it should have. I really applaud. I am very moved to be leading the show because I think faces like mine should be taking the center stage, and so I'm so grateful to Mia for knowing that and making that happen, and also that for Facebook recognizing that.
Can you articulate what it's like for a young person of color to see someone that represents them on screen that is a hero? Because I will honestly say, like, as an ally, which I hesitate to say because it's not my word to really say about myself. When I hear people of color or LGBTQ people say that about people on screen, as a cis straight white man, I'm like, okay, because it's really something I can take for granted. Like, I have no idea what that feels like to not feel represented.
Yeah, totally. It's crazy. I was talking to my sister and just about like looking at the media, like when we were younger, and being like, who did I have? And I had Connie Chung, Christy Yamaguchi, and Tia Carrera, all badass women. But never once did I feel like an extension of myself. But those were the Asian women that I was like, those three.
Tia Carrera?
Yeah, and it's incredible. But it's a crazy thing to not be reflected in the media that you watch. And you start to think, you're, one, not important enough to be the center of a story, that your job is to service other people's stories, or two, that you're invisible. So like as a young girl trying to figure out where you fit into the world and not having any model up there to sort of be like, yeah, that's me. It really, the media really does shape our understanding of ourselves. And so it's so important that the media reflects the experiences of people whose identities are not dominant and mainstream.
Do you find that this is something when you're growing up that you internalize so much that, like getting a good part or getting on a show that's predominantly staffed and made by women, that it's hard to externalize what that feeling was until you see and feel the difference?
It's exactly what Kathleen said. Like, you don't really know until you feel the alternative. That I'm like, oh my God, I'm not playing a tech whiz or the best quirky friend or the foreigner. This story is starting a conversation so much further along that is like assuming the intelligence of its audience to be like, yes, they can hold a person of color, a woman of color at the center of the story whose otherness is not just race. It is.
So when you're playing a tech whiz, the friend or the foreigner, you are playing the other in this story by not playing at the center of it.
And it often feels like being a person of color, that is the only otherness we are allowed to claim. So for this show to say, hey, the lead of the show is a half Asian woman who also is queer, it's just finally starting the conversation just a lot further along. I'm spitting everywhere. That this person is like 360 degrees, and is not just there to support someone else's story.
I will also say one thing that you do as a writer as well when it comes to these stories that makes the show so much further along is that rarely do the stories sort of center around, let's see, I need to actually articulate this. Rarely do the stories feel like they're being told for a straight cis audience that needs to understand it through some kind of easy gateway. The show itself, the stories are leagues beyond, and it's about love and it's about friendship. It's not about like, it's not solely about how do I navigate as a queer person in the world.
Something that was really appealing to me about the show is that it's not that there aren't versions of this that exist, but there's a glut of kind of female queer stuff that's about like the pains of coming out or the like conflict of coming out and having resistance to that from family or society or whatever, or like they're tropey things in the again not all, but in a lot of kind of female queer, especially more mainstream content, that to have something that's not pleasureless, like to see this where it's the conversation sure is about navigating the world from a like in a place of discovery, but also not bumping up against like the parent who doesn't approve or it's not about that, because it is the conversation is just a few beats along. So to play in that world where then it's like, okay, what are the specifics of this love? It's so it just feel and to also do it with pleasure and with with joy, and because so often there's just so much stuff that's really about the torment of it, and not to discount that experience at all, but I think it's really heartening to be part of something that that indulges the things that are enjoyable about being a young queer woman.
Yeah, I think too, like, what's so important, what you said about, like, the person of color, like, narrative. I think what's so frustrating for me, I'm Afro-Latina, and I have never seen me on camera as a star. So I've seen Black women, I've seen, like, Latino women, but I've never seen, like, Afro-Latinas, and, like, it's just now that our stories are being told, or that we're even being accepted, or like, well, what are you? You like that question. And so I think it's so important that Zoe, like, her character is represented, and she is like a queer woman of color who's Asian. And it's like, yeah, those stories exist, because what's frustrating for me is like, when we're not represented, and then we get like the Disney princess who is like Princess Tiana, and then she can't come from a rich castle. She comes from poverty, and like her parents work at a beignet shop, and then she's a frog for most of the movie. So it's just like, not just telling our stories, but like tell like other narratives, and like, why can't we have the same, why couldn't she be like just like Ariel? Why couldn't why couldn't her dad be like this amazing man that like was from the South, that had like wealth? So it was just like, to see people like Isabel, it's just like, yeah, I see that all the time, but I never see that as a woman of color. And it's like, it's a tropey thing, which is like so inappropriate. And I think that it's so important that Mia had different women of color that were on screen that looked like women of color. Like me, I just had the conversation, we were just at Facebook, about what it meant to have my afro, and it's huge and it's beautiful, you will see on screen.
It is really beautiful.
Yeah, and the fact that I was so nervous, like how she said, the norm for me is to go to the director and be like, let me wear twists, let me wear braids, I'll pop a weave in. And then Mia was like, can we have a conversation about that? And I was like, all right, what is this bitch about to say? Because you're so used to being disrespected that I'm just like, okay, let's go. Like, okay, what is about to happen? I'm coming in already defensive. And the fact that she approached the situation with such a level of ignorance and compassion, she's like, hey, I don't have that type of hair. I want you to know that this means so much to me, that your hair is a symbol on that screen, and it dismantles the stereotype that white America has created of what it means to be beautiful, and I need that on screen. I was like, bitch, let's go. And she's just like, what do you need? What hairstylist? What products? And we'll get it going. Like, I want to be there for you as far as makeup artists. Like, we want to make sure that you're like, so like that is like so important. So it's not just having us be represented, but how you treat us on set and behind is so important. And I didn't know that that was possible and that I could ask for what I wanted until this show. It was just like, you just accept it and you just be a sweet little Black girl and you keep moving and you just do say the lines and you keep it moving. But Mia dismantled that, and like, she made me want more. So thank you.
I'm gonna ruin what you just said by asking a really dumb question. Is Cardi B Afro-Latina?
Yeah.
Isn't she? Okay.
And ruin.
Ruin. I just love her. Sorry, I really love her. And when you said Afro-Latina, I was like, oh, Cardi B.
Yeah. No, yeah, of course, the white man thinks Cardi B. Of course, yes, because you gotta. You got it.
Yep.
No, she is. She's great. And the thing is, too, Afro-Latinas, that they don't even know that they're Afro-Latina, because it's just kind of like, when they brought us over here, they kind of like plopped us in different parts. And then we like, that's why there's Afro-Cubans. There's people that are indigenous to Mexico. I'm Mexican and Black, that look just like me. Their parents both are brown. It's just educating yourself. And I'm so happy that we're having the conversation and people are now discovering that they are Black. But the thing is just kind of like, when you're Afro-Latina, you're just like forced to choose. When you're biracial, I'm sure you probably deal with that. It's just like, well, what are you? It's like, my mom told me, like, you're both, and
Also with
that's it.
bisexuality,
Yeah,
too.
can I take it over for 1 second? Well, that was...
No, we're gonna talk about your show for the rest of this time here.
Well, something that was really important to me in terms of the kind of growing up from season 1 to season 2 was really exploring Isabel's
living in the bisphere. She is biracial, she is bisexual, and now she's bi-coastal. And so what does that mean when you orbit in all of these different spaces? Does that mean you belong everywhere or nowhere? And like, how do you find your space? Because I think it is a society that likes to create boxes and binaries and fit you into certain ideas of things. And so what happens when the box doesn't fit? And so when you're so big and you're so full that you spill over into multiple categories and you just want to be who you are, that was, and I think that in terms of bringing the show to New York, that was something that really excited me because it's kind of my understanding of New York. It's a place where belonging is so hard, but when you belong, it's so deep and so real. I think loneliness is a complicated thing on both coasts, because here you're surrounded by everyone at any given moment. That when you're alone, it's so lonely because you're so surrounded. And then on the other coast, you kind of have so much space that you're often inherently alone. So what does it mean to be like alone and together, and how you reach out and connect? But really the idea of exploring the biosphere and when you don't fit into one category. That was something that was really important to me for this season, and kind of pushing the dialogue by who we cast and by what stories we decided to tell this season.
New York has that incredible way of making you feel like you should always be finding something to do with people, and it takes years to kind of get over and be like, I'm fine. I'll just hang out here and read a book.
Yeah.
And someone will text me like, no.
Yeah.
I love this time alone. Let's get some questions from the audience. Who has a question? Right here.
Hi, we're going to take an online question. Zoe would like to know, what is it like being on a show that is so important and needed to so many people?
It's for Zoe.
Oh, no.
Zoe's
There's
the person
another
online.
Zoe out there, and I wonder how she spells her
another
name.
Zoe
Not
exists?
allowed. Not allowed.
Cancel the question. There's only one Zoe. Next question. No, I'm joking.
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, Zoe would like to know, what is it like being on such an important and needed show in this time for so many people?
Zoe, to refer back to the last 10 minutes of our conversation. No, sorry.
No, I mean, I was from one Zoe to another Zoe. I was just gonna say it's very moving to me. Outside of me, Zoe Chao, I'm just excited to be a part of the story, and we hope that it sparks, that this series can be the inspiration for some conversations that are hard to have, and It was so exciting during the 10.5 weeks that we were shooting to go to sleep at night and be like, that was a full day of I stand by what we were doing, so it's moving, and it's very moving to have this platform and to be leading a show. I've never led a show before.
And you're doing such a beautiful job.
Thanks, Mia.
Next question. One more.
Hey, ladies. I was just wondering, now that you're shooting in New York, do you have you looked at the locations that you wanted to shoot? Did you have an idea of where you wanted to go?
Moving back to New York, did you know already what locations you wanted to shoot at? Did you have any favorite New York locations that you were looking forward to shooting at?
Well, so because only the first episode is out, season 2 goes from Isabel being the host to the renter. And so she embarks on a journey over the course of season 2 where she goes from neighborhood to neighborhood every week. And so without giving too much away, she will be in Brooklyn Heights, she will be in Bed-Stuy, she will be in Jackson Heights, she will be in Brighton Beach, she will be upstate, she will be in Tribeca, Upper West Side, Red Hook. One I won't tell you, and then another I won't tell you. I wanted to explore the diversity of the neighborhoods in New York. I had a pretty fleshed out sense of it before the writing process even began, of just wanting to show, you walk 10 blocks and you're in a different world in New York. And so, the real intention of this show is it is an inclusive show, and it's an inclusive space for women of color, for people of color, for also cis straight men. This was a show meant for your generation and our generation. And it's a show that was made with such love by
with all the people I love. So it's meant for everyone, and I think it has its tailored audience. But the hope is that everyone can see a piece of themselves in it. And if the show makes one person feel a little less alone in the world, then I feel like I've done an all right job.
All right. It's on Facebook Watch now, right? It premiered the 24th, the first episode. The second episode premieres on Saturday?
On this Sunday.
On
Sunday,
Sunday.
9 p.m. Eastern time. Guys, Zoe is a true star, and you should catch up on season 1 because she carries the screen in every scene and is just, it's been such an unbelievable journey to watch her become the woman and the star that she is. And something that I'm most excited about in this season is you get to meet Brooke, played by Sarita, and Robbie, played by X, and Mari, played by Kathleen, and they are some of the most beautiful, talented, stunning humans I will ever get to work with. And if this is as good as it gets, then
F yeah. Also, technically, there's an application. It's just people are learning about this platform.
It's a very
all the
new
time.
platform.
There is an. I didn't know this, but I found out on Sunday. I was like, I want to watch this show on TV. Facebook Watch. I think it's Facebook Video actually. So if you have
Facebook Video.
what is it called?
It's Apple TV. You can watch it on your TV.
And it's super easy. Just download the
Make
app.
up Facebook Watch, but it's called
No,
Facebook
it's,
Video.
no.
It's confusing.
Got it. I've been in this
So it's
position
Facebook
before. I
Watch.
don't want to belabor this. I'm sorry.
On the
I've
internet,
I've done what you're doing right now.
on the internet or on your phone, you go to Facebook, and then
the
you
one
type
app,
in
yeah.
strangers. If you see that amazing image of Zoe with click it.
Watch it.
Click on it.
You're gonna love it.
Like it.
It's so great.
Love it. Watch the whole episode. Share it with your friends. Tag your friends. I mean, this is a sharing
Each episode
economy.
it's only 25 minutes long, right?
And comment on the
It's
sides.
very
You
entertaining.
can have full discussions. You can see what people are talking about.
But I think it is
About the
it
show.
is
You
such
can
a
watch
weird
it
thing
again. So,
You can watch it so many times.
You can just keep. It's free. You can just keep
Look at
watching
these
it.
faces. Why? I can stare at them all day. I just get lost in the edit
She
room.
does.
Just-
She stands outside my room and she
really-
just looks at me.
I really love
That's
these
what she does. She stands and I'm like, Mia, you gotta go. She's like, no. That's what she does.
So one more time, how can people? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, it's called Strangers. It's on Facebook.
Just so you know, when you do Google, babe.
She gets the last word. Just
No.
be very clear.
You gotta know.
Well, I still
when
have
you
to tell people
Google,
to clap for you, so you can't have the last word. I mean, you can have. Well, you wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Wrap it up, girl.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So when you Google, babe, first thing comes up is another strangers. We're gonna report.
True.
No, yes, I typed in strangers in another, not our show. It was something
spelled it
else, and I
wrong.
reported it. Report.
Perfect Strangers.
Not perfect.
Okay.
This is the perfect strangers. God bless you. Thank you so much. And so you gotta hit it, and it has a check mark so you know that we're legit. Okay. Make sure you click that, babe. Like, love, comment, and I'm out.
And share. Share is an important thing.